Welcome back to the Small Talk of China. I'm your host, Anqi. In today's episode, we'll talk about tones. There are 4 tones in Mandarin Chinese. They are the following. Yi, 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 yi. First tone, yi. Second tone, yi. Third tone, yi. And fourth tone, yi. Let's do it once more. This time repeat after me. Yi, 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 yi. Now, remember how to say number 1 from our first episode. E. Which tone is it? Let's hear the 4 tones again and see if you can tell which tone number 1 carries. E. 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 That's right, first tone. Now let's try number 8. Ba. Here are the 4 tones. Ba. 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 That's right, number 8 is first tone. Ba. Let's try a different number. Number 6. Liu. Here are the 4 tones. Liu, 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 liu. What tone does number 6 have? Liu. That's right, 4th tone. Next, let's look at number 10. Shi. Here are the 4 tones. Shi, 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 shi. So number 10 has a 2nd tone. Now we're left with the 3rd tone. Let's try number 5 for that. Wu. And here are the 4 tones. Wu, 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 wu. Since we're here, shall we review number 1 to 10 with the correct tones for each number in mind? We will say each number together and say what tone they have immediately after. E. First tone. R. 4th tone. 3. First tone. 4. 4th tone. 5. 3rd tone. 6. 4th tone. 7. 1st tone. 8. Again, 1st tone. 9. 3rd tone. 10. 2nd tone. So that was it. You just learned how to pronounce the 4 tones in Mandarin Chinese. Is it that simple? Yes. And no. Yes, in a sense that this is all there is. 4 tones that as long as you can distinguish and reproduce, you're good to go. Each and every Chinese character has one syllable, and each syllable has one of these four tones assigned to it. There's also a light or neutral tone, but no need to worry about it at this stage. However, if you have been learning Chinese for a while, you will know that tonal pronunciation is one of the most challenging things that non-natives face. So why is that the case? First is getting direct feedback on it. And this applies to pronunciation in general. Perhaps you've learned the four tones just by listening to the first 5 minutes of this episode, or by mimicking dialogues while watching Chinese movies. In fact, mimicking is one of the most efficient ways to learn the tones. For example, I remember last year having an adult student, an English native Stuart. He just naturally picked up the tones when we first started lessons without any background information. It turned out that Stuart used to work as a sound actor. Folks with sensitive ears to sound, either by profession or by nature, do have an advantage. But if you're not 100% confident when you are doing self-study, vocabulary and grammar you can easily turn to the countless resources these days you can find online. Tonal pronunciation might require one to get a teacher or a native's direct feedback. In a group class situation, pronunciation is taught usually in the first few lessons. And before students get a chance to practice and consolidate, vocabulary and grammar are introduced, and they will be the focus from that point on. Practically speaking, there's no time in class to give anyone one-on-one feedback on pronunciation in any consistent way. Now, being able to distinguish and pronounce the four tones on their own is just the beginning. Recall that each character has a designated tone. So in a sentence, you will be constantly combining and switching between the four tones. And that itself is a different skill. Let's see how this applies. We'll look at numbers again and count from 11 to 19. Essentially, we're looking at how to combine 10, second tone, with other tones. Let's start with second tone, first tone combination. 11, 11. 13, 13. 17, 17. 18, 18. Now, second tone and fourth tone. 12, 12. 14, 14. 16, 16. Now let's look at second tone and third tone combinations. 15, 15. 19. Lastly, we'll count from 11 to 19 in order with the correct tones. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Now let's swap the two syllables and add more variations. 12, 12. 20, 13 13 30 30 14 14 40 40 15 15 50 50 16 16 60 60 17 17 70 70 18 18 80 80 19 19 90 90 Numbers make a great starting point to practice tonal pronunciation. Once you have 1 to 10 memorized, you can count easily to 99. You have access to a substantial amount of words at the very early stage. Plus, counting frees you from the pressure of recalling vocabulary and constructing grammar. You can focus on just getting the tones right. To be able to perform tonal pronunciation in a consistent way, apart from sounding as much as possible like a native, memorizing the tone to each character is also work from day one. What does that mean? It means from now on, tofu is 豆腐, 功夫 is 功夫, feng shui is 风水, tai chi is 太极. So now the question is, how important is it to get the tones right? After all, it's not like people didn't understand me when I said tai chi or tofu. There are several ways we can look at this. First, let's look at some difficulties with pronunciation that Chinese people face when studying English. There are some sounds in English that Chinese natives struggle to pronounce or simply can't tell the difference between. One example of this is the difference between the short I and the long I. Thus, ship sound like sheep, whereas beat might be pronounced as bit, and vice versa. Granted that speech is always contextual. Say, when I ask someone at the office, could you pass me the shit, instead of could you pass me the sheet, when pointing at the document next to them, I'm still likely to get what I asked for. Or when on vacation in Maldives with friends, you've got your bikini and sunglasses on and beach towel in hand, and announce, let's go lie on the beach, instead of let's go lie on the beach. Suppose the point here is that if you don't put in the work with pronunciation, you are left at the mercy of the natives to make an effort to understand what you actually mean while being mature about it. And just like you being able to hear the difference between it and eat, I guarantee you that every Mandarin native you encounter can instantly spot an error if the tone in a character is not applied correctly. Because we're trained to pay attention from day one. And sometimes when you make mistakes in your tonal pronunciation, it does alter the meaning of the sentence. Let's look at the following examples. Here are two sentences. See if you can hear the difference. Number 1. 我能问你吗? Number 2. 我能吻你吗? The first sentence says, can I ask you? 问, to ask. And the second sentence says, can I kiss you? 吻 with the third tone means to kiss. Here are two more sentences and let's spot the difference. Number 1. 我买杯子 Number 2. 我买被子 The first sentence says, I buy a cup. 杯子 first tone. And the second sentence says, I buy a duvet. 被子 with the fourth tone is duvet. Now, if accidentally asking someone for permission to kiss them can be embarrassing, and being led to the wrong section in IKEA might cost you a few extra minutes. Sometimes the consequences might be more severe. Let's compare these two sentences. Number 1, 我买麻 Number 2, 我卖麻 The first sentence says, I buy weed. 买 with the third tone is the verb to buy. The second sentence says, I sell weed. 卖 with the fourth tone is the verb to sell. Now, neither is legal in China, but one of them is punishable by death, so be careful. One other thing to notice is that in Mandarin Chinese, the majority of the words are 1 or 2 characters. And the characters are all just one syllable. So comparing to English or other European languages, Chinese is less forgiving when it comes to inaccuracy in overall pronunciation. Because in English, a word like computer, market, or possible, the sequencing of the syllables convey a lot of the information. For a Chinese person, learning and remembering the sequence of the syllables in English words can be painstaking. But it does help in making up for any lackings in clarity of pronunciation. For those learning Mandarin Chinese, the number of syllables in each word is way shorter, but the effort needs to go into memorizing and delivering the correct tones. Obviously, no one can get it right at the start, and there's a lot to tackle besides pronunciation. This applies to both students and teachers alike. But if your end goal is to be able to converse with Chinese natives, and ideally wanting Chinese natives to converse with you, then consciously pay attention and work on getting the tones right from the start. It is a lot of work, and it might even slow down your progress, meaning you might compromise the pace of your speech. You might not be able to memorize as many words as you would like in a day or a week. But communication is not about speed and quantity. It's about accuracy and efficiency. Accuracy from the person speaking to give out clear and concise information, and efficiency for the listener to receive information with the least amount of effort.